Okay, so in this video we're checking out the Flywoo HEXplorer HEX LR4. So obviously this is a hexacopter, not a quadcopter, and it's based off of the original Explorer LR4 design, which you saw in a previous video. This guy here, the basic same frame layout. Obviously the arm layout is totally different because it has 6 motors instead of 4. That is, and of course 6 propellers. That's the main difference between a quadcopter and a hexacopter. And obviously the electronics are going to be a little bit different here to support the 2 additional motors. But here's kind of what the frame looks like. I'm trying to get everything here in the frame of the video. You just have a rearrangement of the arms here, an extra arm here in the middle. This kind of goes forward here. I'll talk about that here in a second. This kind of goes off to the side. And then you've got these braces here in between the front and the middle and the back. And obviously these are the same 4-inch propellers, the Gemvan Hurricane 4024 props. So the motors are the same as before, the 1404s, 2750 kV. So obviously this is designed for 4S. The stack here is totally different. Obviously you can see it's designed for 6 motors on the ESC. Still a 13 amp ESC, but it's not a 4-in-1, it's a 6-in-1. And so this is what you've got here. You've got a Goku 745 hex 13 amp stack. So the flight controller here is, as you can see, these are 16 by 16 components. So 16 by 16 F7 flight controller that can handle 6 motor inputs, as well as a 13 amp 6-in-1 ESC here that is also 16 by 16, and yeah, that's another difference here. So it's also only 2 to 4S. Now so you can see the layout of the pads and all the functions. I mean, it's a basically standard F7 flight controller. It's just that it does 6 motor inputs, and then you have your ESC is a little bit bigger, as you can see. Current sensor here, a bit bigger here than a normal 13 amp ESC is on the Explorer LR4, which only has 4 motors, but it's again still only 13 amps. But it's still pretty amazing. It's 13 amps, but it is 6 motors on here. Nothing too unusual on the flight controller. It does have 7 UARTs on here. They do have a SpeedyB Bluetooth radio, which you can't see. It's behind the camera there. It's on one of the UARTs. They actually have the SpeedyB Bluetooth module on UART 5. Mine came with the Crossfire receivers, so UART 1 is enabled for serial RX or Crossfire. The Vista is also wired up on UART 4. So if you want to, if you happen to get this and you're using it with the DJI controller, then you're going to want to enable serial RX on UART 4 instead. I think though if you're getting the non-receiver version, it should come like that already. That's only if you want to switch from the Crossfire to the DJI controller, which I'm pretty sure none of you guys will do that. I wouldn't think of doing that anyway. And now that this flight controller has enough UARTs, 7 in total, which is pretty amazing. The GPS that's on here is not on soft serial anymore. It's on UART 2. It's got a hard UART, so none of those problems with the OSD disappearing. All that should be gone now. Now the camera that's on here is not the DJI camera. This is the new Nebula Pro camera that I reviewed. I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. And yeah, so it's basically like a DJI camera, but in the smaller 19mm form factor and 3.5 grams less weight. So if you missed that video, yeah, check it out. That was just a couple of days ago. And this is the camera that's going to come in this new model instead of the DJI camera. So yeah, that's a little bit of weight savings there. Now, as you can see here, this has a naked camera in here. This is, well, a lot of you guys have followed my channel. You probably already know what this is. This is the new Insta360 camera that's coming out. That's going to be in tomorrow's video. I'm not going to talk about it in this video at all. So if you want to know details about that, it'll be in tomorrow's video. Now, the reason it's in here is the Flywoo has sent me this specific setup here for this camera, because this mount works with this naked camera. It's a little bit too big for a naked GoPro. Slightly different dimensions. Additionally, they wired up my quad here with, or the hex with the plug for this particular camera. And that's why I used this particular camera with this particular drone, because it all kind of went together. That's why I kind of can't make this video without showing at least this camera. But I can't talk about this camera until tomorrow, so you're not going to get any details about this camera until tomorrow. So you're going to see some footage from this camera, but you're not going to get any information about it until tomorrow's video. So I'll leave it at that. And then I flew mine with mostly this 4S 850. You can use a wide variety of batteries here. Obviously, you want to do 4S. You know, I can get about 8 to 10 minutes of flight on this battery. You can go bigger, but, you know, then the camera kind of gets in the way. This doesn't have as much space as you would like. If you want to go for a 30-minute flight, the 18650 lithium ion pack here is the way to go. But you can see it's going to hit the back of the camera here and not really give you that much space for the plug to come out. It's going to be a pretty tight fit. It fits, but it basically is going to be up against the camera, which isn't ideal, but it's going to probably vibrate the camera a little bit. But yeah, if you want 30-minute flights, this will be the battery to go for, and I'll have a link down in the description for this one. Okay, so I had to take all the stuff off of here. So this is no camera, no battery. Here's the weight, and it's coming in. It's 221 grams, so it's definitely going to be over the 250 gram limit with the 4S 850. You're coming in at 316 grams, and if you're going to be flying with the 18650 lithium ion pack here, we're going to be coming in at 418 grams. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about how this thing flies. Now, came with a PID tune, pretty good PID tune, it's fine. You're going to get nice stabilized footage if you're using any kind of a naked camera, something with stabilized video. That'll probably work just fine. You'll see that in the flight footage. The thing that I wasn't really too thrilled about was the fact that because it's a hexcopter and then they had to put the arms or the motors in the front here, it gets into the video and it's like right in the middle of the video. It's quite distracting. I didn't want to increase my camera angle, which you could do, but then it wouldn't match the camera angle of this mount that they're including, which just looks like about 15-20 degrees. So I wanted that to match up so that my speed would match up, so that, you know, if I'm going faster, I'm just basically, with this angle here, if you go faster, you're going to be basically pointing at the ground, which isn't all that interesting. So mainly I was doing a lot of cruising around, and this is going to be fine for that with an extra 2 motors, and I guess it's going to be a little bit more efficient given the weight. And, you know, if you really want to get something that's for cruising around, I would recommend just getting the lithium ion pack, and you're going to get loads of flight time, fly pretty much forever. Now, in terms of the props showing up in the video for the HD camera, it kind of depends on the camera you're using and the field of view, and the field of view that you're using. So on some GoPros with Super View, I'm pretty sure that's going to show up in here. When I was using the Insta360 camera on the if you're using the unstabilized footage, it seems to show the props at the very bottom, but once you turn on the stabilization, it crops the image in a little bit. That seems to go away. So at least for the footage you're seeing, you're probably not going to see the propellers, but you will see it in the FPV feed for sure. Now, they're also calling this kind of a cruising and freestyle, sort of a hybrid drone. And I gotta say that, you know, I haven't flown very many hexcopters in all my years of flying FPV. And this is the second one I've ever put on my channel. I think maybe like 2 or 3 years ago I had a brushed hexacopter, and it, you know, I have that same sort of feeling here in terms of like the way it flies. It's pretty different. It's not like it feels heavier. You feel like you have more power available to you for the weight, but it's just a different kind of feeling compared to flying a quadcopter. It's really hard to explain. It does feel like you have a little more power, and it doesn't necessarily feel like it's more locked in than a quadcopter, but it does feel like you have a little bit more control authority, especially on the roll axis here with the 2 motors here on the outside. At least that's my perception of how this works. And basically with all the power being distributed basically evenly all the way around, it doesn't feel unstable in any particular direction. Whereas sometimes on a quad, it might feel a bit more unstable on the pitch axis or the roll axis. It felt pretty stable overall. I think that they could have adjusted the pitch tune a little bit more because it didn't really feel as locked in as I expected it to, given the fact that it has 6 motors. That may be something that they're going to continue to work on. I mean, in terms of like the way it flew compared to, say, a quadcopter, I thought it flew totally fine on the pitch tune. Just that I had a little bit different expectations on how the motors, having a 2 additional motors would be in terms of flying it around. Now, in terms of just getting your cinematic footage, is totally fine for that. It's going to get a nice stable flight, and obviously with 2 motors, you're going to get a little bit more efficiency, but you're going to have more weight here. So for those of you guys that are looking for something to fly that's under 250 grams for registration purposes, obviously this is not going to be it, because it's with all the extra motors and the extra weight. You're going to be going over that limit unless you're using a really tiny battery, which I'm pretty sure you're not going to be able to do. You're not going to want to do. Anyway, so I think overall I have kind of mixed feelings about this platform. I'm not sure how widely adopted it's going to be. You have a lot of extra weight in the frame here to basically support 2 extra arms and 2 extra motors and 2 extra props. So what you gain in terms of power, in terms of raw motor power, you also gain in terms of weight. So it's a trade-off, and I'm not sure exactly if this is the right platform in terms of the 1404 motor, where that trade-off is a favorable trade-off, where adding the 2 extra motors is actually beneficial. It almost seems like it's kind of, to me, it seems like it's kind of a wash. I really can't tell that much of a difference in terms of how much of a benefit it would be. Maybe if we had different size motors, different props, maybe on a 5-inch HEXcopter, I might feel differently about it. So of course, I don't have a lot of experience flying a lot of HEXcopters, so I just may not have enough flying experience with this to really gauge how useful the extra 2 motors are. So I'm gonna just leave it at that, because I really, without having a lot of experience flying this for a lot longer, I'm probably not going to have too much useful information, though I'll continue to fly it here and there. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to definitely keep this one for a while, because this is a very interesting platform. Who knows, it might capture some wide adoption at some point. And we'll see how I feel maybe in a month or 2 after I fly this for a little longer. And if you guys have that kind of interest in that kind of information later on, let me know down in the comments, and I'll try and update you as to how things are going on this down the road. Anyway, put links down in the description to all the stuff you saw in the video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.